everyone! Welcome back to Story Hive. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss an update. Let's jump into today's story. My dad married a new woman and neglected me. He spoiled his new family and made me feel like a guest in his own house, causing me to resent him. When I was younger, I had a very good relationship with my dad. My parents divorced when I was an infant, but I spent weekdays with my mom and weekends with my dad. My dad and I were like best friends, and we had a simple routine every weekend. We'd get 5 Redbox movies to finish during the weekend. We'd go fishing, play soccer, and bike to this little secret playground near the zoo. Something else I was used to was my dad always having new girlfriends that never lasted more than 2 weeks. The only one who lasted longer, a woman I really liked, lasted 2 years, but left my dad when I was 10. My relationship with my dad remained the same until I was 12, when my dad met his now wife. This woman has 2 kids, one older and one younger than me. They moved into my dad's apartment after only 2 weeks. My room was already small, but my tiny mattress and 3 small plastic drawers were shoved into the corner of the room to make space for the daughter's bunk bed and dresser. Before I knew it, they started putting my bed in a closet until I came to visit, often forgetting to take it out at all. When my dad moved into a bigger house, the older sister got her own room, while I had to share one with the younger sister. Every weekend, the 3 small drawers I had were soon just one drawer because the little sister wanted the other 2 for her toys. Slowly, I started visiting my dad less and less. Everything went especially wrong when my dad got his girlfriend pregnant. After 1 year, they got married, and I didn't know about it for a whole month because he didn't even tell me. I also didn't know my baby half-sister was born until weeks after she came home from the hospital. To make his new family happy, he started spoiling them and stopped paying child support for me and my mom. His wife is a jobless gold digger who only cooks, cleans, and shops. Her older daughter's college is being paid for by my dad, and the younger daughter is the definition of a 10-year-old Sephora kid. As for my half-sister, she is still a toddler, but is clearly spoiled and hates the word no. The routine I used to have with my dad is now dead. As for my stepdad, he's been with my mom since I was 5. Apparently, though I don't remember it, I once called him dad, and because of that my dad told me I shouldn't love the man like a dad, because he's not really my father. Apparently, that's why I started acting like I hated my stepdad. I never knew why I felt that way about him, since he'd never been anything but good to me. In the last few years, I've felt much closer to him. He feels like the dad that my birth father should try to be. Over time, my dad has started to treat me differently. He rants to me about his political beliefs and conspiracy theories about aliens and other stuff. He also brags about his new business and his new family. If I ever try to share anything with him, he gets annoyed and shuts me up before continuing with his stories. It's like now he sees me as a buddy rather than his daughter. During these last few years, I learned that the reason he and my mom divorced was not because they weren't right for each other, but rather because my father cheated on my mom while visiting his family in Canada. I am now 15 and have become a completely different person than the one my birth dad remembers. I no longer love the beach or soccer. I now love music, reading, and writing. I have written and published 2 books since 2022 and am working on the third in my series. My stepdad supports my dreams and loves me so much that he brags about me to friends and family and calls me his daughter. My stepdad has an actual daughter who I love like a real sister, but she lives up north with her boyfriend, so I don't see her often. Still, I love them more than I love my birth dad and half-sister, whom I'm actually related to. My dad blames me for never calling, though because of how he's treated me lately, I don't feel like I owe it to him. I also go months at a time without visiting him now because I no longer feel comfortable at that house, especially since the bed I sleep on there is considered the guest bed. In my birth dad's house I am a guest. Because of all this, I resent my dad. I haven't told anyone about this, so no one is calling me a jerk, but I'm wondering if I am because my dad is in love with his new family and I'm not happy for him. Am I the jerk? Update 1. Hello, so I made a post a few months ago talking about how my dad has basically stopped treating me like his daughter now that he has a new family. Not much has happened since, but here's an update anyway. Since I made the initial post, I've only visited my dad's house once, and it's safe to say I truly am nothing more than an uncomfortable guest in that house. I should start off by saying that every time I spend a few months without going to his house, my dad tries to play all innocent and calls me on Fridays to ask when he should pick me up. I never answer because he always calls me when I'm in class or busy with studying, so he'll call my mom. But because he never asks me in advance, I tend to have plans on weekends with my cousins, friends, or just to work on writing since I'm still working on my third book, which takes a lot of focus that I can't get at his house. Actually, I'm now just going to call him Eric. He's honestly not been as much of a dad figure to me as my stepdad has. Anyway, it was my mom who decided I would go over to his house despite the fact that Eric hasn't paid child support in over 2 years now. I hate going to his house. My mom says I should just visit from time to time to keep him from getting the court involved. She confuses me sometimes, saying that he's a deadbeat man, but also sometimes saying that he's my loving dad who deserves my respect. However, under the circumstances, I'm fairly certain that nothing would be any different since I never visit him, and he doesn't pay child support anyway. In fact, once on Christmas, he bought a bunch of new gifts for his family and wrapped them up. He said, "Merry Christmas, buy yourself something, and the rest can be child support or whatever." I bought 2 books, but the rest of the money that was supposedly child support was nothing near the amount he owed. I have told my mom I would be happier if he lost custody of me and my stepdad adopted me, but she thinks that's too extreme and says, "He's still your dad, he deserves your respect and love." Now, about the weekend I visited him. From the minute Eric picked me up, all he talked about was his new family. He talked about the older sister and her boyfriend, the younger sister and the shopping she does, and then my half-sister, who can now talk a little bit. I stayed silent the whole time until he asked me a question about my school. When I answered his question, he got frustrated and went into a conspiracy theory rant. I tuned him out for the rest of the drive. After that, the rest of the weekend wasn't any better. The older sister did what she always does when I visit and locked herself in her room, only coming out when I left the house or when I was in the bathroom so she wouldn't have to talk to me. The younger sister had a friend over, and her friend had her stuff tossed on my bed and was sitting on it because it's the bed she sleeps in when she has sleepovers. Eric's wife did a poor job of hiding how bothered she was by me visiting more than once. She has been completely shocked I was visiting because Eric didn't tell her, so she couldn't disagree. Also, most of the weekend consisted of Eric taking me and my half-sister to a playground so she could run around with her friends, and I sat on a bench to read. But I didn't have much time to myself since Eric kept leaving and told me to keep an eye on my half-sister. I am not a babysitter, and while I am good with kids, that does not mean I enjoy putting my own time aside to look after them when they're not my responsibility. I had to spend 2 days in either pure chaos or discomfort. I had a talk with my mom about not wanting to go over there anymore. She said that's fine and she won't force me to go anymore, but since she said that before, I don't believe her. I don't have anyone to really talk to about this, and this whole situation is stressing me out because I don't remember my dad ever being as happy as he is now. I still sometimes feel like I should be happy for him. I don't know what to do, and any advice on what I could do would be helpful. Everyone who's commented on my last post has said I'm not the jerk and that Eric isn't acting the way a dad should. But I still don't know what's best for me in this situation. I'm hoping someone here can help. Update 2. Thank you for the support and comments on my last post. There's not a lot of new news, but I wanted to share what's been going on. I didn't go to Eric's house at all over the summer. I did, however, get a call from him once, and it was the same story as before. He was talking about his wife and kids, so I let it go to voicemail. When school started again, my mom told me she was thinking about putting me back on the schedule to go over there once a month. I told her I didn't want to, and that I'd been doing well and focusing on my writing, and she agreed to leave things as they were. But a week later, she got a letter from Eric's lawyer saying that he was going to court for child support. When my mom showed it to me, she told me that Eric wanted to meet with me and that she wasn't sure what was best for me. I agreed to meet with Eric and we had a conversation that was extremely uncomfortable. He started talking about how he wanted things to be normal again and kept bringing up his family. I told him I wasn't happy with how he had treated me and that I didn't feel comfortable in his house. He seemed shocked and hurt but didn't really apologize. Instead, he started making excuses and trying to justify everything. He said he didn't know why I felt this way and that he thought I was just going through a phase. I told him it wasn't just a phase and that I needed him to understand that my feelings were valid. Since then, I've been dealing with a lot of mixed feelings. On one hand, I feel like my mom is trying to push me into a situation where I'm not comfortable, and on the other, I feel bad for Eric because I know he's struggling with the child support issues. It's been hard for me to figure out what the best course of action is. I'm considering talking to a counselor or therapist about this, but I'm not sure where to start. Update 3. Hey everyone, I wanted to update you on what's been going on since my last post. I took your advice and spoke to a counselor about my feelings towards Eric and the situation with my family. The counseling sessions have been really helpful in sorting through my emotions and finding ways to cope with the stress. During my sessions, I realized that a lot of my resentment towards Eric comes from feeling abandoned and unvalued. The counselor helped me understand that it's okay to feel hurt and that my feelings are valid. I'm working on setting boundaries with Eric and figuring out how to communicate my needs more effectively. One significant development is that my mom has agreed to support me in setting clear boundaries. We had a serious conversation about how I feel and what I need from her moving forward. She's been more understanding and is trying to balance Eric's needs with my well-being. However, she still feels conflicted about pushing Eric for child support and keeping the peace. Eric and I have had a few more conversations since my last update. He's still trying to bridge the gap between us, but his approach hasn't changed much. He continues to talk mainly about his new family and rarely asks about my life unless it's convenient for him. He did offer an apology, though it felt more like a formality than a genuine acknowledgement of my feelings. He's also expressed a desire to improve our relationship. In terms of visiting, I've decided to take a break from going to his house for now. I've told my mom that I need more time to focus on my personal projects and well-being. She's been supportive of this decision, but I can tell she's still concerned about how this will impact Eric and the legal matters. I'm continuing to focus on my writing and other passions, which has been a great way to channel my energy positively. I've made some progress on my third book, and it's been rewarding to see my hard work. As for the child support situation, Eric has been consistent in his attempts to avoid paying what he owes. My mom is still working with her lawyer to address this issue. I've been trying to stay out of the legal aspects as much as possible to avoid additional stress. I want to thank everyone for your support and advice. It's been incredibly helpful in navigating this complex situation. If you have any further suggestions or insights, I'd be grateful to hear them. I'm hoping that with time, things will settle down and I'll be able to find a healthier balance in my relationships. Thanks again for being there for me. Thanks for tuning in to today's Reddit story. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a thumbs up and share it with your friends. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss out on more amazing stories. See you next time.